Hey and welcome back to the Ultimate Guide to Touch OSC. I'm Tim Corpus, composer and sound designer, and today we're going to take a look at using Touch OSC with Finale. So, Make Music Finale, a program that I hate and love. It's such a complicated relationship because for me, it's the best engraving software that I've used. I've been using it since 2004 or 5, and before that I was on something really simple that I took from a library somewhere, but I've learned a lot about Finale, and it is frustrating to work in an amazing DAW like Reaper or Cubase or Ableton and have these major blocks in things you can do in Finale. But what we're going to take a look at is the way that I use Touch OSC with Finale, because it totally opened up my workflow and made so much of my life easier just in any engraving situation. Copyist work, composing, this was a real big game changer for me. So I want to take a look at some of the ways that we do that. Before we go to Touch OSC though, you need to make sure that you're using the function keys though. And I can't believe how long I was working with Finale that I didn't know about this, which seems just ridiculous. In Finale, you can program your tools, your favorite tools, to a function key. So first, let's make sure you're using your function keys, and then we'll jump into Touch OSC. So this is Finale 27. I picked this up because I had a big project and I needed to be working on the same version as somebody else, but I was using 25 before that because I don't usually like the upgrades they do each year. But here we are. Obviously, a lot of people have their setup a little bit differently. Here's what I want to talk about is the F keys. So we can program F2 through F12 to be different things, and it's super simple. All you have to do is, let's say that you wanted F2 to be crescendo. That's what I have. All I have to do is shift F2, click this, and it's been programmed. And maybe I want your diminuendo to be shift F3, click that. So now I, let's say I'm working with, let's go quarter notes, I'm building this, blah, blah, blah. And now I want to put in a crescendo. I hit F2, there we go, and then hit F3, and it's switched back. And that's amazingly simple. And let's say I want the slur tool here. We'll go Shift F4, click, and now I can put a slur over everything. How did I not know that for so long? That drives me nuts because I feel really stupid not knowing that. But such a great way to speed up your workflow. So at the very least, start using those. It's a great way to get around any of the tools. Any of those toolbars, you can just click your F button, Shift, and then click on your mouse to select it. I was using the left mouse click, and that's all it took. Now I'm using a big fancy keyboard here. I have a SteelSeries keyboard that has a lot of extra buttons, and that's why I bought it, was because I wanted all of these extra buttons that I could program for macros and shortcuts. So I have this whole list of what they call MX on the side, which I used to put all of my toolbars in, and then I also have the F keys. But in addition to that, there's buttons above my function keys, and then of course Touch OSC. So I've got a lot of things programmed all around me. You don't necessarily need to do that. What I'm doing is probably overkill. But again, take advantage of those F keys and find a way to use those with however you work in Finale. So now let's look at ways that you can use Touch OSC with Finale. So let's go to the editor. And as always, let's make sure we're connecting this. So I'm going to enable server here and then connect. Now, if you're new to Touch OSC and you're unfamiliar with connecting this to your computer, head back to the earlier videos so you can learn how to set this all up. So Finale isn't able to do anything like MIDI learn like we do with Reaper or Ableton. So a lot of our messages are going to be sent through keystrokes. So first, let's make a button, and we'll make this green. And the first thing we're going to do is just try to send one of those function keys. So let's add a label here. And what we did before, we had a crescendo. and you should be green. And then let's take our button here. Let's head down. And we do not need a MIDI message because that does not work with Finale. And let's open up our OSC message here, and we're going to put in a keystroke. So let's remove receive, and we want this to happen on fall when we push the button down. And let's get rid of name. We're going to add a constant. And just like we sent keystrokes before, this is going to be key. And then here in our arguments, let's add another constant. Put this beforehand. Select that, and we're going to push F2 because remember we already programmed that. Now we need to go to our X here, close this out. We want 1, 0, and an integer. And again, if this is your first time seeing this, go ahead and rewatch that keystrokes video that explains more. So we're in Finale, and right now we have our 8th note button clicked, our 8th note tool, and now let's hit that green button, and now we have our crescendo. And the way this was set, right, we took the function hotkey that we set up here by holding F2, shift, and then clicking it in, and that was programmed, and then we went into OSC and just sent that same message. Very simple to do. You could set this up with all of your tools in your toolbar if you wanted to, just so you can have them here. Sometimes it does get difficult to remember, like, what is F7, what is F6, if you're coming back to Finale maybe like every couple weeks. So it could be helpful to just set all of those up in a pager on your TouchOSC template. The next thing we're going to look at is sending menu shortcuts. So let's go back into the editor and make another button. So let's make a new button, right click here. And then what we're going to make is a repitch tool. So let's add a label, and we will call this repitch. And then let's select this button. We can go ahead and get rid of the MIDI message. We're not going to use that. And we can get rid of the OSC message. We're not going to use that. What we're going to do is use a script. So this is the script we'll be using. You'll probably recognize this. This is the same script we used in the keystroke video to send different hotkeys. So we're going to select all, copy, and then let's select our button. Make this a little bit smaller so we can access our script, and we will paste that in. So what's going to happen is this is the message that's going to be sent when we push the button. Control Alt F11. And that's just because of something I was using before. But let's go back to Finale so we can see what our menu shortcut is. So we're going to go to Plugins, TG Tools, Menu Shortcuts, and then we're going to add. Now you could add any of these big hotkeys, and what we're going to do is Control Alt and then F7 because I know I have this one open and unprogrammed. Now you could just on your keyboard push Control Alt F7, but that's such a claw figure. I mean, it's like impossible to reach, and it's kind of stupid to have to move around and push it. So that's why I like using TouchOSC to send these keystrokes, because otherwise it's just ridiculous to have to go Control Shift Alt F12, whatever it is. It's much easier in TouchOSC. So we have our key assignment here. And then we're going to select in the menu. And what we need is tools. And then what we're looking at is in the simple entry. And then we want repitch. And that is this tool right there. So let's hit OK. Cool. And so now it's set. We can see Control Alt F7 is the repitch tool. So let's hit OK here and go back to the editor. And so what we're going to do is select our box, and here in the code we need to set this up. So we have Control plus Alt plus, let's change this to F7, and then same down here. And now when we push this button, it'll send Control Alt F7. So let's head back to Finale. So let's put in some notes. We'll go F, G, A, but actually we want that A to be a B. So let's hit our repitch button. And there it is. And we can hit that anywhere we want. Nice and simple. Let's try another. So let's go ahead and create another button. make this blue. And what we're going to play with is the note head tool. Now, for a lot of the percussion work I do, I have to put in different note heads for, let's say, cross stick, or maybe it's the rim, maybe it's the drum. So the note head is a really important thing in my workflow. And again, I don't want to use my mouse to drag up, click note head, go back down, work each time. I want to add that as a button in my template. So let's go ahead and do that. So here in Finale, let's go back to plugins, TG tools. Let's go to menu shortcut, and we need to add that hotkey. So let's go ahead down here, and we're gonna delete this repitch because I don't need it, and I need a free one. So add, and we'll do Control, Alt, F7, and of course you could put in anything you have. I just know all of mine are full. And let's go with our tools. And then this is gonna be under Advanced Tools, Special Tools, and then note shape. Here we go. Okay. So we need to add that to our button. So let's take our script again. Here's our script. Select all, copy. Let's select our button. Go down here. We're going to remove the MIDI message, remove the OSC message, paste this in. And again, we're going to be Control F7 and Control F7. And this will change our note head. So we just changed our note to B, and now let's hit that blue button, note head, and here we go. I can just click right there and change this to, let's make it a, I don't know, parentheses. That's weird. Why not? And it's that simple. We want to change something else up here. Click that button, click in here, and we can change that. Perhaps we want a big X. So any tool in the toolbar you can add a menu shortcut to. So go up there into plugins, TG tools, and then you're going to make that menu shortcut, and then you'll just add that to your template button. And of course, there's plenty of space in your Touch OSC template to make a ton of different buttons. I do a lot of different stuff. And you can also do Finale scripts. This is incredibly helpful because let's say you want to do a whole run of changes in Finale, all with the push of a button. Let's look at making, I don't know, multi-measure rests in our masterpiece right here. So let's make another button in the editor. We'll right click, add a button. Let's make this pink, add a label. And I want this to be multi-measure rest. All right, so let's go into Finale, and we need to make this script. So to do that, let's go to Plugins, Finale Script, and then Script Palette. So I have a bunch of scripts that I've already made, but let's just go ahead and do this. We're going to go that plus. We have this untitled script. Let's go ahead and name this multi-measure script. Nice. And you can save that. And what we're going to do is we're going to push a button because we're working too fast here. We don't have time to do all the clicks. We're going to push a button and it's going to select everything, and then it's going to create a multi-measure rest for us. So how do we do that? How do we make Finale scripts? If you want to learn more about all of the crazy different things you can do with Finale scripts, there are some good videos on YouTube. I'm also going to do one at some point talking about some of the different ones that I use, but for right now, we'll just do a simple one. But to start this, let's go to this website, which I will include in the video description. These are all the different commands that you could do in your Finale script, and it gets pretty complicated. There's a lot of awesome stuff that you could automate, which I highly encourage if that's the way that you want to work. The first thing we need to do to make this multi-measure rest is we need to first select all. So here we are. Let's select, and that is Sel all, S-E-L all. So let's go to Finale here, and into our script, we're just going to type S-E-L all. And that's the first thing it's going to do. And if we were to run that script, it would select all. Important thing to note that if you were on, let's say, the expression tool, and then you ran this, it doesn't look like anything's happening. That's the selection tool. So you need to be on the selection tool. So actually what we need to do is add moving to that selection tool first. Because let's say we're working and we're doing all this cool, beautiful stuff, and then we want to select all. We don't want to have to select this first and then do it. We would just want the button to do it all. So let's go back. And we want that selection tool first. So where is that selection tool? Right here. And what's it called? Selection. So let's put that before. Let's go right here. Before, we're going to go selection. Great. So now if we're on our notes here and then we run this script, we just change to the selection tool and we select it all. And now let's add our multi-measure rest. So let's go find that. And I'm going to guess that this is under M, but it's not. There is no multi. That's because this isn't the best organized list ever. Actually, what we're looking for is create multi-measure rests. So let's click that. And what is it? That's what it's called, create multi-measure rests. So let's copy that, head back to Finale, and we'll add that at the end here. All right, so let's add another thing. So here at the beginning, we want a nice big chord. Something that's not possible. Terrific. All right, we put that in, and now our music's done. We need that multi-measure rest. Let's run this script. And there it is. Now, if you were normally doing this, you would have to go through the menus. You'd have to click Plugins, find your scripts, Finale Scripts, open your palette, and then you'd have to find it there. But let's add it to Touch OSC. So let's go ahead and undo this. So this is done. Let's go ahead and make sure that we have Show in Menu selected. That's really important. And then Save and Close. So now let's go to Plugins, TG Tools, Menu Shortcuts, and we're going to add this in. So we're going to add, and I'm just doing this because I know that it is available, but Control-Alt-F8. Now you could use something else, but I just know that this is a clean and empty slot for me. So now let's find our command. So we want to go to Plugins, and then it's going to select Finale Script, and then here is our multi-measure script, and select OK. Now one heads up for Finale. Sometimes it's just the worst and doesn't refresh. So I've found that even after making a script, it won't show in the menu options for your menu shortcuts. So you'll have to save your progress, close the program, reopen the program, and it'll be there. So here in our button, let's go ahead and remove all old messages because we don't need these. And then let's take that script again, copy that, paste that, and then what we're working with is Control-Alt-F8, Control-Alt-F8. All right, so now let's go back to Finale. Cool, so we're working along. Let's go ahead and add another spot. We have a whole note here, and then a whole note here. And now we're ready for a multi-measure rest. So let's just click that button. And voila. It selected the selection tool, then it selected all of the measures, and then it created multi-measure rests all for us with the click of a button. So making these menu shortcuts with the Finale scripts was a huge game changer for my workflow. Even though I really didn't understand about the function key shortcuts because I'm a fool. Oh well. But then adding those scripts and those tools to Touch OSC, wow, amazing. I mean, just think of everything you could do. One of the big issues that I always run into with new music and doing copyist work is I have to put a fermata over an empty measure. And, you know, it's just a lot of work to have to click through that and add those on each one. So now I have a script just to select the column. All I have to do is push a button, and then any empty measure within that column turns into a real rest, as they call it, and then adds in a fermata. That's just incredible. That's so much time saved. So I think that you're going to find a lot of different ways for you, however you use Finale if you're composing or doing copyist work, for you to use Touch OSC with Finale. I really wish there were some other ways that we could use things like encoders, faders, radials, and radios. But unfortunately, I haven't found a way to make MIDI work in a way that's useful for my workflow. Now, there is a mixer in Finale. I don't ever use that because I'm not really using it as a DAW. I never mess with that. I just kind of use the dynamics within the instruments, and I just leave it. If I'm going to be exporting any sort of XML, I'll change all the volumes and velocities in a DAW because it's just much better there. But if you wanted to, you could try to use the mixer and use Touch OSC to create the faders to pair that over. Good luck in doing that. I don't think it's worth your time, but hey, maybe you have more time on your hands than I do. So I really hope this helps your workflow with Finale. It's definitely done so much for me. In fact, Touch OSC with Finale has been my favorite, even more than working with any DAW. This has just been a complete game changer in my life. So hopefully you enjoyed this and learned a lot. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Lots more coming up with a lot of questions about Cubase I'm getting, and I will try and find another 30-day trial so I can get that working again. But in the meantime, head over to Discord. If you want a fast answer to whatever you're working on in Touch OSC, the Discord group or the Facebook group are probably the fastest way to do that. Otherwise, I'd love to hear your comments and questions in this channel, so be sure to put those in, and we'll see you next time as we learn more about Touch OSC.